Hey, Jono.
Hi, Fearne. How are we doing?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm good. It's been a bit of a rough period, hence the conversation, and I'm nervous about doing it. If I'm honest, I feel a little bit exposed and a little bit vulnerable. But these conversations do need to be had, and yeah, I don't even know where this conversation's going to lead to or what's going to happen, but I just know that talking about it is one going to be helpful for me, and also the I hope it educates others as well.
Well, it undoubtedly will. And I was really keen to talk to you today. We've been privately sort of having a conversation over the last couple of weeks, spurred on by a TikTok video that was going around that you can talk to us more in depth about, and the toxic nature of it. And that started us having a bigger conversation because, of course, you and I both know that social media can be massively connective, and we've built beautiful communities out of it respectively, and there's been some lovely crossover with that as well, and it's enabled us to connect people, certainly educate people on certain subjects. But because it's so ungoverned, massively still, it's dangerous, and things can so easily get put out there and spread and build momentum so quickly without anyone stopping it. And I don't necessarily think that we really truly understand the full negative impacts, the full force of that. And that got us talking and has led to us having this chat today. So I know it's not easy for you to talk about, but could you first of all fill us in on the nature of this video and why it set you on another mission, because you're already on a brilliant mission to help people out there. But could you talk more specifically about this for us, Jono?
So a little bit of information first. So ever since I've been in the public eye and on in the media, so using social media and other platforms, I've always been exposed to people making fake stories of me. This year there was a news article using my face, my photo. This used to be a famous actor, but due to a botched surgery, he's now ruined his career. There's also other people in the facial difference community that have had memes created about them that spread, and they're hurting and harmful for the individual, but the whole community sees that as well. We still have a culture where TV brands, comics, villains have facial differences for the bad guys. So we're also educating or creating a world or a culture where a facial difference is a negative thing. That's still going right, happening in front of our eyes. And that's massive, and it's so harmful and it's so damaging. And then I've tried to tackle that, and I've reported that, and that's why I talk about self-love, because if I'd have seen these memes and these images as a teenager, I really fear what that impact would have done for me. So I can't express how lucky I feel where I'm in an emotional place. I've got wellness in me and I love who I am, and I've got those support networks around me that I can deal with this and talk about this. It still hurts, it still crushes me, but I'm very lucky that I'm in a good place. There are so many people that aren't in a good place, and they see this. A very close family. I met with this family when this individual was born, and they're now, I don't want to give too much details away. It's a private conversation, but they're in a bad place, and I worry about the impact that it has on so many families, and it just breaks my heart thinking about it.
Yeah.
Onto the TikTok stuff. So a few months ago, somebody shared a TikTok video with me via Instagram, and there was it's an app. So people take a photograph of themselves, and then it captures a selfie, and then it ranks them out of 10. 10 being the most attractive, and there's a famous actor at number 10. On the bottom end of the scale, and there's a photograph of me next to number 1. This category is subhuman. People will pity date and pity fuck these people. And I thought we were exposed to it. We reported it to TikTok, and we got a standard message saying that this didn't violate any of their guidelines. I spoke to the person who shared this TikTok video, and she's apologized. We had a conversation, a really productive conversation, and she deleted it. And I was like, okay, I was disappointed with TikTok, but I'm glad the individual recognized that. And I thought I'd dealt with it. And then last week, somebody shared it again with me on Instagram. And it turns out that the individual that I spoke to was just using a filter, or the selfie thing that is a part of TikTok. And when we've researched into it, this TikTok app photo selfie rating scale has been used by over 25 million people. So they're just using it. For one, they're rating themselves on an attractive scale, which is harmful enough. But the fact that they're using myself, and on the female scale, they're using somebody else with a facial difference as number 1 is, it's crushing, absolutely crushing. And the fact that everybody's just using it and joining in, and nobody's saying anything, and it's just deemed as okay, and there's just no protection for us as a community with a facial difference, and that's the problem. There's no equality or a protection when it comes to facial difference.
No, there's not. And I'm, as I've said to you personally, I'm deeply sorry that you've had to go through this. And, your work, as you've already stated, is to profess your own acceptance and self-love with your life and to promote that to others. But of course, you're human. Anything of this nature is going to be deeply saddening and impact you on a level. But I know we've also spoken privately about the fact that, a lot of people who have then commented in support of your mission have sort of glossed over the bigger picture, because of course it's harmful to you and it's harmful to anyone in the community. But the bigger picture is, why are we partaking in something that rates us aesthetically? Why is there still so much heat around that? Why is there so much importance? For young people, we know how impressionable all young people are. We were once in that age category, and we have felt it, and we know those feelings, and the pressure is already huge. But to then be able to take a picture and have yourself ranked is insanely toxic. And as you've just said, it's been normalized for 25 million people to have partaken in this, and for it to be readily available on an app. It's not abnormal to take part in something like this. It's been completely normalized, as you said, without anybody standing up to say, I don't feel okay about this for myself or for my kids or whoever it might be. That's the big overarching problem we have here, that's still in place.
Yeah, Fearne, it's drained me, and it's drained me that much. Every time I've tried to talk about it, I can't get the words out, and I can't even process my own thoughts. I spoke to my manager recently, and her response was, why don't you just delete social media? And I was like, that's not the answer.
That's you being submissive to it, like, oh, you guys have won, I'm off. That's not what we need to do here. I mean, this is the problem. You could do that and it would be better for your mental health, but as much as I know you, Jono, because we've been in conversation for quite a while now, I know that's not how you roll, and you want to combat this to do good for other people. That's your purpose, is that you want to help other people, and it's draining and it's a huge problem. But what can we do? I'm here saying I want to help. I want to do something to help raise awareness. What can we do collectively to make sure that we just look at the world differently, because it's a huge societal perspective shift that I feel we need to have.
Yeah. So I think a lot of the TikTok users that have participated in this trend, it is a viral trend. Some will look at that and they will know that it's wrong, but they're obsessed with the likes, they're obsessed with the trend, so they'll just join in just for the trend and just for the likes. But they need to be bigger than that. They, like, as you said, this is not right. I am not participating in this because this is not right. Reporting any of these videos and these apps that discriminate against any group of people. We need to get better at reporting and challenging TikTok, Instagram, Facebook about any of these videos, memes, posts. More needs to be done. And I've had so many amazing comments and I've had so much lovely support. But then, and I know people don't mean it in a nasty way, and I know my boss, my line manager, was trying to help me. But there's other comments of like, oh, Jono, just rise above it. Jono, just ignore it. That's we were talking about how switched on we are and how in tune we are, and we feel everything. Yes, I have walls up and I have a thick skin and I can deal with this, but sometimes some comments just hurt and they just happen to get through, and I don't know, I can't physically, emotionally control when I get hurt or when I don't get hurt. So I just need people to listen. Obviously we have got big charities and organizations in this area. My own Love Me, Love My Face Foundation, Face Equality International, Changing Faces. They are charities that actively campaign against this, and we fight for face equality. So get involved with them, reach out to them. There's loads of guidelines in place. But you know, every video that you see on social media, you need to start analysing it. Is this right? Is it healthy? Is it discriminatory? And there's always that report button. And then when you click on report, why are you reporting this? But if anybody from TikTok, Instagram or Facebook is watching this, they need to get better at screening the content that gets created, because it is doing so much damage.
That, and I think we all know, you know, we've all, as I said, you know, we know that there are positives with social media, and you and I both revel in those positives, and we really enjoy the communication. I mean, for a start, I wouldn't know you because we were following each other, and I was interested in your work, you were interested in mine, and we've struck up a friendship, and there were some really amazing connective moments. But we know there's this underlying discomfort that we all feel, and it's omnipresent, and that's how much it's affecting all of our mental health. Because for each person that's, say, used that app or been part of any sort of systematic ranking or rating of what we look like, because we know a lot of these social media tools are very, very visual, how is that making all of us feel on a societal level that there is even, you know, a rating in place? We know there's not in reality. There's no such thing. You know, we're all equal individuals, bumbling through life, trying our best. But for there to be a structure that specifies that you might fit into a certain place in society or within an aesthetic ranking, I mean, it seeps into all of our subconscious, whether we like it or not, if it exists. So unless we challenge it, none of us stand a chance of even getting anywhere near what you promote, which is self-love and enjoying who we are, no matter what anyone says, you know, because we can flippantly say, you know, the outside world, outside noise, whatever. But what is that? You know, you can only quantify it if something exists like this, where you go, oh my God, I can see that 25 million people have used it. I can see that this is, and for you, I can feel that exposing nature. And I've felt it in different ways myself. When you're out of control, you can't control that. You can't stop that in its tracks right now. Hopefully we'll get this sorted. But when you're out of control like that and people are using your image, talking about it in certain ways, that's so exposing, because it's like wildfire spreading and you can't do anything about it. I just think the impact, you know, luckily you've done so much work in your own life to be able to sit here today and talk about this and to help other people, and that is remarkable and not to be underestimated. But for everybody out there and young people growing up, you know, especially if they're in the facial difference community, to feel like they don't belong, it breaks my heart. It absolutely breaks my heart, and we do have to do something about it. And let's hope that, you know, we obviously need social media companies to be on board with a higher level of governance, but also I guess it lies within the individual, anybody using social media who can, as you said, report it, but also maybe strike up conversations with people in their life, I guess, to sort of question, well, how does that make you feel, or why have you done that?
Yeah, and reporting is huge. Conversations are absolutely massive as well. They definitely need to be had, and I definitely encourage that. But a few points that you touched on as well, I do through the charity, I do a lot of work in schools, and I talk to youngsters. And back to this ranking scale, I know so many youngsters who are in a vulnerable situation, and I talk about self-love and that being empowering and so massive, but this ranking system goes completely against that. So they will do the ranking system and they will get a score. They're not happy with that score, so they will put makeup on, they will add a filter, they will show skin, they will get lighting, they will get a different angle, and then all of a sudden their ranking is going up, and then that is educating them that the less they are of themselves, they're somehow less, and it's so frustrating. And I'm trying to campaign for or educate the complete different. No, be your true authentic self, and that's where we need to be. Bringing it back to the face equality stuff, I've got families over in the States at the moment who I'm really, really close to, and some of the kids are going to school for the very first time. They're starting kindergarten. And oh my God, they are so fearful, and they've shared posts that they're praying that their kid gets accepted into class, and it crushes me, absolutely crushes me. They've got that going on anyway, and then all of a sudden they see the TikTok videos and they see the fake, horrible, negative memes, and it just adds to this anxiety and heartbreakness. And it's massive, absolutely massive. So conversations, reporting, and that call for those social media companies to really change their ways and start screening what gets created is massive. It's long overdue.
It's so good that you're doing work in schools, and I do often think, you know, more needs to be done in schools that is an inside job that doesn't require somebody who doesn't work in the school to talk, because I can think back to when I was at school, and you know, that this sort of structure existed, but in a much smaller way, where it would be like, who's the most fanciful person in the class or whatever, and lists were passed around on paper, and that was bad enough. But now that it's this global, viral, digital, toxic, you know, just vortex, is out of control, and the problem is bigger than it was than when we were at school. And just because things can happen sort of secretly but then end up online or whatever, it's so toxic. And like you say, bringing that message back to just be you and love who you are. And I think we all, to some extent, you know, we talked about this when we did an Instagram live about how you and I could both see how when we were younger we were trying to be like somebody else, because a lot of kids do that. You know, you try and emulate who you think looks powerful, cool, whatever it is, and then hopefully you end up in a place where that's boring and you go, I'd like to just be me, thank you, but not without quite a lot of work and effort and energy and pain and all that stuff to get to that place. So if we can help kids not have to go through that, I think schools also, in tandem with social media, probably need to generate bigger conversations around this as part of the curriculum.
Yeah, I've got to admit, when I first started going into schools, I found it very hard to get into schools because it wasn't part of the curriculum. But these past few years, I've met some amazing teachers. I'm like, hey, Jono, we need you in our school. And yeah, I always start off with a morning assembly, and then I spend the full day there, in going into every classroom, smaller groups, playground, dinner time, and I'm there, and so many children open up, and it is so incredibly powerful. So if any school educators, anybody wants to get involved with myself through that, then I definitely, please reach out. I'm definitely up for that. That ranking system, flashback to, I had a group of friends in school and they were like, okay, so you need to build your perfect boy out of our friends. Whose face are you going to have? Whose bum? Whose height? Whose person? And I was always everybody's clothes or Jono's fashion sense. And I love my clothes. Don't get me wrong. I love my clothes. And so at first I was like, oh yeah, I'll take that. I'll take that. I'm best dressed. But then as the years went on and those conversations still took place, everybody's faces swapped for like who the most popular was. And I prayed and I longed for being the chosen one for the face, and it crushed me. So at one point I was like, kind of like, oh, it's kind of cool that I get clothes, but it ultimately crushed me and led to that negative impact. And you are right. Now that this is going on social media and you can't escape it, it's just snowballing out of control. So schools, educators, after school clubs, they've all got their part as well, because you and I are talking about this as adults, and I'm talking about this as a facial equality thing. It's also going to, it's affecting the younger generation or anybody in a vulnerable situation at the moment.
Massively. I think it's why a lot of parents like myself are shit scared, if I'm honest, about what the future holds in terms of social media and how kids communicate with each other without there being heightened governance around the content that's put out there. And we need to all understand the negative impact for, you know, so many people out there, and how detrimental that is. So once again, thank you for all the brilliant work that you're doing, because it's, you're already helping so many people, but I think the push for this specifically is really needed. And we'll do everything we can over at Happy Place to help you in your mission there. And I think a lot, as you've said, there are charities you can reach out to. There's reporting that can be done, leaving detailed descriptions as to why you've found content toxic or upsetting is really key. Is there anything else that you think we need to discuss today, Jono, to really get people moving on this one?
I do think we have covered everything. I guess if anybody is exposed to anything similar, it's really, really important to talk about it with a family, a member, a friend. There are so many incredible charities out there that are really good at talking and really good at listening. And so I think that's another thing that we need to mention. Those ones that are at the receiving end of this, you really need to get some sort of support. I think that's huge. That's absolutely massive.
And you're not, and if you are on the receiving end of it, you're not alone. It feels like you are. I've had all sorts of things said about me online, and it feels horrendous and isolating, but you're not alone. And you are proof of that. You are someone willing to put yourself out there to say, look, I've dealt with this in life. I'm at a good place. You can be too. I'm there for you. And so if anyone's not following Jono on social media, you bloody well should straight away. That's a really good start. And we'll keep this conversation going and update everybody as to how things are progressing, hopefully. And thank you, Jono. It's as always so wonderful to talk to you, and fingers crossed that we can, make some really positive change here.
Yeah, as always, and thank you for your support. It means a world to me. And before we close out, we always ask everybody, what do they love about themselves? And that's something that I've been working on these past few days. And I love my smile. I love my little dimple. I love my blue eyes. I had an haircut last night and there was so much blonde fluff that came off my head. And I love how I approach all these topics, and I continue to share who I am and talk about and celebrate who I am. So that self-love this week has been huge, and it's been so helpful for me. That is one of my biggest tools that I've got in my toolkit, you know. So yeah, thank you again, and yeah, appreciate the love and support.
Yeah, Jono, self-love all the way. You're teaching me about it every day, and I love that. And everybody out there watching, maybe now write down a little list of the things you love about yourself and start your day in that way.
Yes, definitely.